Hello, my name is Lorraine of D32 Business Network, and I've got the absolute pleasure of having a deep dive conversation with Nick Petrou of Nick Petrou Copywriting Services. How are you, Nick?
I'm very well, Lorraine. Thank you so much for having me today.
No, it's really it's timely. We were just having a conversation there about you sat at one of the group mentoring tables last week at a Maxi event, and your table was very popular. Both
Mm,
at the beginning and at the end. So copywriting, messaging, marketing, we need to get it right.
yep.
Yeah. Now, so I'm blabbing on about here because you were at the event next week. But first of all, I just want to paint this conversation for the listeners. What are we going to be talking about today? Marketing can be complicated, but it can also be simple. We're going
Hmm.
to be talking about aiming for targets, and we're also going to be talking about the what's on everybody's tip of everyone's mouth at the minute is AI and copywriting and how can we use it and when not to. So that paints the
Yep.
picture. Nick, over to you first of all. Why copywriting? How did you
Oh,
end up here?
I won't give you the long story because it's kind of boring, but the short one is basically I started writing fiction several years back. Weird stories, horror stories, all that sort of stuff. I'm right into all the speculative fiction stuff and especially short stories. And
Ah,
basically, while I was trying to do that, I thought I need to make some money because I got to pay rent and survive and buy my meagerang and whatnot. And I thought maybe I could monetize some of these skills that I'm developing through writing these stories. So I looked into content marketing, basically, and how to begin in that. And I remember feeling so daunted by that whole industry at that time. Randomly stumbled upon a Reddit post about this dude in Sydney who was writing or who was running a YouTube channel, multiple YouTube channels, one for Star Wars, one for World War II, right? And he said he was looking for writers to do the scripts for those, which he could then narrate. And I thought I might as well reach out, I'll give it a crack. I ended up landing that gig
wow.
and wrote for him for basically 3 years, helped grow one of his YouTube channels from like 50K subscribers to a million. And one of the other ones just helped that continue to go steady. That thing was growing no matter what. And did that for, as I said, about 3 years. And then realized that what I was really doing was just like I was grinding out words. I was churning out words, and I had to work really, really hard every single day just to scrape by. Basically, I was that stereotypical, like, hooded writer in the dark. And I thought this isn't a career path. I need to shift things up a bit. So, what's the next step? I looked into copywriting, which is distinct from content writing. So, content writing is about informing and engaging and entertaining, right? Whereas copywriting is more so to do with compelling. You're basically persuading someone to take a certain action.
Yeah.
Both can be used for marketing. One is a bit more direct than the other. So looked into copywriting, basically quit that job, threw myself in the deep end and struggled for a solid year, not really being able to find consistent clients. That was one of the most difficult years of my life. But then I found District 32 and everything changed since then because I realized that I was a business and I started looking at myself as a business instead of just that hooded rider in the dark. And I learned how to acquire clients and keep them and do all of the other things that you got to do as a business owner, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's why I got into it. And basically, originally, as I said, it was to sustain myself while I was writing my fiction, but I stopped writing fiction because I was just getting so much fulfillment out of doing the copywriting for people. Helping businesses feels great. You can help someone communicate the value of what they do, and then they can help people in turn. And that feels really, really good to give someone that clarity and that confidence to go into the market. That feels amazing. Yeah. And I get to, stretch my creative muscles a little as well. Yeah.
So that's probably the most unboring story I've
Okay.
heard. Writing scripts for YouTube around Star Wars and World War II, right? There's nothing boring about that, Nick. And I didn't know you were a fiction writer before this.
Mm,
So there you go, some facts we didn't know. Now, also had never actually considered the difference between a content or a copywriter either until
mm,
that was clarified. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I will share. So obviously we've worked with you. We're still in
hmm.
transition from one website to the other, so some people can see some pages but not others. I'll wait until we
Yeah.
launch. But the reason I'm talking about that was you had mentioned before about marketing. It can be really complicated or it can be really simple, right?
Mm,
That is our conversation before we were talking. And I can remember when I was sharing with you, we'd come up with this beautifully complex business growth model, right? And it was deep and it was intelligent and it was smart. And there was hours and hours and hours of thinking went into that model and it was beautiful. But at the end of the day, it wasn't our customer.
yeah.
It wasn't our customer. And you're the only person who's taken us and looked at that after years and said, well, actually, you've made it way too complicated.
Yeah.
Like this is your customer, this is what they want. So I want to hand that over to you, Nick, because that's one of the things you wanted to share, is why do we overcomplicate things? And what does that mean in marketing and content and copy?
Mm. I think when we look at any other industry or something like that, because we don't know it, because we've not been involved with it, we assume that it's like insanely complicated. And of course, there's nuance to everything that people do. Um, but I think marketing is one of those things that feels more nebulous than it actually is. Really, all that you're trying to do is communicate a message to the right people so then people can understand the value of what they do and why they should pick you and not someone else, right? That's all that marketing really is. And I think a lot of people, when they hear the word marketing, a lot of business owners assume that you've got to do all of it. You've got to have organic social media posts, you've got to have Facebook ads, Google ads, you've got to have a website, you've got to do SEO, you've got to do email marketing, you've got to do all of it, right? It can seem very
Overwhelming.
daunting. And I think that, yeah, you can build all of those things up, but at the start, it's really just so important to find one logical marketing strategy and pursue that one, right? Just do one thing. Have
Mm,
like one top of funnel to the bottom of funnel marketing strategy and give that a go and see how people actually interact with that. And if it's working, great. And if it's not, then try something else. You don't have to do all of it from the start. You don't have to have every single different social media platform or all of that stuff. You don't have to have a YouTube channel as well. Just create literally one like ideal customer journey. Where does someone first hear about you? How do you nurture them? And then what happens right at the bottom of the funnel? What happens after they work with you as well? How are you going to keep in touch with them? I think that has been even really useful for myself because when I first started getting into this, like building my own business, I was like, I got to do all of this. And then after a while, I realized, hey, maybe I don't. So my whole marketing strategy at the moment is go to D32 events, right? And other networking events, which I don't do very often. I'm very loyal. Um, and basically connect with people, give them my business card. They go to my website, they book one of my free web copy speed dates. I jump in a Loom video, review their website live, well, in a live recording, send it to them for free. And then usually they get some value out of that. They've got some quick fixes for their website. And if they want to work together, then I've got something else in place and then a core project. And then we stop. And then I ask them for a review. And basically, I've got that mapped out. And it's really, really simple. My whole marketing strategy is a network marketing strategy supported by some digital touch points. And that's been working for me. And I enjoy doing it. I think
mm.
that's another big one. It's like, do the stuff that you enjoy doing in business because that's why you got into it, right? If it also works, you got into business because you want to do things your way and you don't have to do them how everyone else does them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Mm.
And I also liked what you said earlier. There's the marketing strategy and there's the marketing channels, but
Mm.
then there's also the marketing message.
Uh-huh.
And when you were talking about, have your ideal that you're going for, and I think you
Mm.
really helped us with that as well because what I find is what I'm guilty of is you try and hit all your target markets on the same page,
Yeah.
or you try and hit all your customer journeys because you might have 3, 10, 15 different products, but really we have to stop somewhere, or start
Yeah.
somewhere with that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Nick?
so about the messaging side of things, for sure. So, positioning is what you need to get down before you can start talking about messaging, and messaging is what you need to get down before you can start talking about marketing. So this is what I covered in the during the Maxi last week. So I'll just go over it real quick one more time. So positioning to me is an internal strategy that guides all of your marketing decisions. And it isn't necessarily something that you as a business tell the market directly. Positioning is always relative. And what I mean by that is it defines how your business stands out compared to your competitors in the minds of your audience, right? And positioning is answering three key questions. There's a bunch of questions you can ask to get clearer on these three questions, but the three big ones are: who is this for? So that's your target audience. What makes it different? So that's your competitive advantage. And why should people care? What's the actual value in this? What's the value proposition, right? So that's positioning. It's an internal strategy. It's an internal discussion that you have with your team. These are questions that you ask each other and get really clear on together. Or maybe you bring in an expert, a marketing strategist, or something like that to help you get clear on this stuff. But then messaging, right? This is what you tell the market directly. It is how you communicate your positioning and how you answer those three questions in the mind of your prospect, right? So that's positioning, that's messaging. Marketing is literally just all the ways in which you spread your message. It's every touch point that your prospects interact with, wherever your business, your brand interacts with the market, right? So basically, why would anyone jump straight into the marketing part of things without clarity on their positioning and messaging? It doesn't make sense. Like that's a brute force shotgun approach. Basically, you don't know what you're saying and you don't know who you're saying it to and you don't know how you're going to say it. And then you just start sinking money into digital marketing agencies or ads or whatever it is with your fingers crossed, hoping that some of it's going to stick. And you might get lucky, some of it might stick, but you're going to have much better chance at with all of your marketing stuff if you're clear on your positioning and messaging first. You just know what you're saying and you know who you're saying it to. It's a no-brainer to me. Costs
Yeah.
a little bit more upfront to obviously get that stuff down. It requires a fair bit more thinking, like this stuff takes time to work through. But then when you do start spending money on marketing, I would be absolutely shocked if you didn't immediately get way more return on investment for every marketing dollar that you spend. It's a no-brainer to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that you're often helping people with positioning? Have people not thought about it before they come for messaging? Is
They
that
thought vaguely about it, but a lot of it is ill-defined and they haven't crystallized it, right? And sometimes people get lucky and they say the right thing and it works for sure. And sometimes people have thought this stuff through and maybe they just need to refine it a little bit. But for the most part, most business owners that I've worked with so far aren't clear on that stuff. They haven't properly answered those questions and they haven't supported their answers to those questions with like just information from their customers, right? If you've got 300 testimonials or Google reviews or whatever it is, that's a gold mine. That's where you should go immediately, right? Because that is straight from the horse's mouth. If you don't have that stuff, you got to talk to your customers. You got to start collecting that information, surveys, interviews, and all of that. And if you don't have all of that, then you can just do like general market research. Like, what do people in this industry actually care about? We got to get really, really clear on that. Like, if you don't know what problem you're solving, why do you have a business?
yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. You got like that's why products and services exist, to solve problems or to satisfy desires. Somebody wants something or they want something fixed. They want this pain to go away. So you do that for them and they give you money in exchange for it. And a lot of people will create businesses without actually knowing what problem they're solving. And that's unfortunate as well. Yeah, most people are not at most people are at the very least don't have this stuff crystallized in their minds and they're not confident in it to the point where they can consistently say something that just clicks when someone hears it. Yeah.
I think it's really powerful. I've said several times, one of the reasons I really liked working with you is because you become the customer. And that
Mm.
and that links into, where do you start with your copy? Where do you start with your positioning? It's what your customers say, not what you say.
Yeah,
I
for
think that's
sure.
so important,
Yeah.
and so overlooked. And it doesn't all have to come from you. Your customers have got the answers,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you've got that information. And I do like the fact that you do go away and what was it you called yourself? The dark hooded writer in the night.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do that to become the customer to some point, right?
Yeah.
Take away and do your thinking and then come back with your magic. Is that what you meant when we were talking before this conversation? Like we were talking about one of the points you wanted to get across was to have a target.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you meant? Were you
Yeah.
talking specifically about you were talking about the ideal client?
Yeah, for sure. So when you've got your messaging clear, it means you've got a really bright North Star to aim all of your marketing towards. You know exactly what you're saying, so you're not staring at a blank page. When you go to make that ad campaign or email marketing campaign or whatever it is, like if you've got your message clear and you've woven that into like one really solid piece of content that you know works and that you put a lot of effort into, right? Then you can just take bits of text directly from that content and put it into the rest of your marketing as well. It's about that consistency as well. You don't need to say something new in a different way every time. You can say it in the same way for
Mm.
sure. Because it's not just
Yeah.
one person. Like
Mm.
that's seeing all of your marketing material. It's multiple people, and people forget. You tell it to them once, and then 3 months ago, 3 months later, you say it again, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've never heard that before." People forget. We're all busy, so we've got
Yeah.
to be consistent with our messaging for sure.
Mm.
It just the way that I see it is like once you get that down, once you get a piece of content that you're really proud of that really says the thing that you want to say and that customers respond well to, all the rest of your marketing just falls into place. You still need a bit of artistry to repurpose the words sometimes. Like, your headline on your website isn't going to work for, maybe your email subject line or maybe some flyer that you're doing. Maybe it just requires you to edit it a little bit so it fits into a different space. So there's still a bit of that. But for the most part, you know what you're saying. You know what your
Yeah.
brand cares about. You know what your customers care about. Yeah.
Mm. It is nice to have that one rolling document that we can revisit and go
Mm.
back, copy paste from when we're looking at different things. It's really helpful. That's the Bible.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, now, I love marketing. I love these conversations. I love the positioning
I
conversations.
hate marketing.
Ah,
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that. So I love the marketing report. I love the competitive advantage. I love seeing a pattern come together, and
Yep.
how it supports a path. Um, I love the creativity that can be included. Although it's a
Mm.
system, it's a process, it's a machine. There's still a lot of creativity that can come in there,
Yep.
and obviously copy is a massive part of that.
For sure. For
I'm
sure.
going to bring us on to the conversation around copywriting and AI.
Hmm.
Where can we use it? Where can't we use it? Where are people falling over? What is coming in the future from your perspective at this point? What's
Yep.
your opinion, first of all, Nick, on what's happening?
Um, so when I first started hearing about like large language models, ChatGPT and all of that stuff, I was obviously a little terrified. I remember I was over in Phuket at the time trying to enjoy a family holiday and all of that stuff was becoming really popular in the media and I started engaging with it. So I was like, man, this is terrifying. I lost my mind a little bit. Came back, and then started actually using it in my day to day. And I was like, oh, this isn't terrifying. This is great. I can actually say yes to so many more jobs that I wouldn't typically have been able to say yes to, right? And for a while that was the go. And even now when I'm working, I still use it for certain tasks for sure. But now I've come back around again, and I don't know exactly how I feel about AI presently, but I do feel that it's very much how you use it. And you would have heard that a lot. Like it's very important to use it properly. It is just a tool at the end of the day. And I think most people they hear that, but I don't think they really realize what that means. You've because they're not really paying attention to the message as much as a copywriter or a marketing person would. It sounds good, it sounds grammatically correct, it sounds witty and whatnot, but what are you actually saying? And when you
Mm-hmm.
really break it apart, a lot of the times it feels pretty damn flimsy. So a good use case for AI is exactly what we were talking about before. Say you've got your positioning right, say you're really confident in your messaging, and then you've put it onto a piece of content that you've put out there and that's working, right? You could feed that into AI and get it to repurpose that content for something else because
Yeah.
you're really clear on your messaging. You know that this is exactly what you want to say, and you've got the tone down in this yardstick piece of content. Just tell the AI to make it sound exactly like that. Use the words, the phrases, the exact sentences sometimes if you can, and just repurpose it into this other thing here. So that's a pretty good way to use it. You got to keep like whipping it back in line sometimes. It'll try and get a little bit creative, and it's just like, no, no, I don't actually want you to be creative right now. I want you to do the grunt work. So that's a really good use case for it, I feel, and that's how I am using it these days. So I will put in a lot of work with a client to get that first piece of content down, and I'm not really using AI for that. I might use it to brainstorm headlines and stuff. So I'll be like, here's a headline I've come up with. Can you give me like, 50 variants of this? Can you riff off of this headline here? I like what I'm trying to say, but I might just want to say it in a slightly different way. And
Yeah.
it can be really, really good for that. But once, yeah, with a client, I'll put in a lot of work to get that down, and we're confident in it, and I'm happy with it, and it sounds great, it sounds punchy. That's the right time, I think, to then use that content with AI, and repurpose it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also pretty good at uh, like bringing out the thing that you're trying to say. So rather than expecting AI to get your messaging right from the start. So I don't think it works very well that way if you don't feed it the correct thing. If you start with a blank slate, like a blank conversation with AI, and put in something that you've written on your own and ask it to um, explain what it thinks you're trying to say, that can be a really interesting way to use it because a lot of the times you'll write like a headline or something like that, and you've maybe overthought it and tried to distill it too much that and to the point where you've lost the original meaning. And you could put that into AI and say, hey, what do you think this means? And maybe it doesn't even mention the type of service or product that you offer or industry that you're in. You've like made it so vague and unclear that you've actually lost the meaning behind it and the context behind it. So AI can help you just mark your exam.
Yeah.
It can be used in that way for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I've never used it that way. I'm using ChatGPT every day for
Yeah.
business and personal, and it's a game changer for
Yeah.
me. I've never actually asked it to say, "What do you think I mean by this?" I think that is a fantastic way to use it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I think though, what I'm seeing, and this might be a rebound message that's coming back from the humans, um,
Mm.
is that it's just going to become creativity
Hmm.
and emotional intelligence and stuff like that is just going to become more valuable as a lot of this stuff is automated and created through ChatGPT. So
Yeah.
particularly in artistry and creativity and um, you know, ChatGPT can do all the logical things. Like for example, a few
Mm.
months ago I put in there, so given the uptake of ChatGPT, and this is my business, my business intimately, D32, what's going to be the impact of my business? And it comes back and it tells you, well, this is what's going to happen, and this is how you need to position yourself as the human
Mm.
being in the world of AI and in the world of business in the next few years. So it's really great for insights like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that like I'm on different writing platforms and stuff, and people are hammering people who are using AI because
Yeah.
and that's another thing. Like people, you can pick up the tone and the language of AI. And like sometimes
Yes.
I put out things and I'm like, I can tell that's by AI. I'm like, but it's okay. I'm not saying it's my writing or I'm not saying it's my creative da da da, but there are people who are will slam you
I,
for that because you can pick it up.
I
Mm.
think like when I engage with the internet nowadays, go to social media or whatever it is, it kind of makes me feel sick, to be honest. It feels in so many ways soulless, and I feel that AI is not helping that at all. It
Okay.
is, we are feeding the internet AI slop, and the internet and the AI is consuming that and then regurgitating more
Feeding
AI
it back.
slop. So it's just this like downward spiral, and people describe it as a sort of like flattening of culture, a flattening of society and communication and the internet and the death of the internet, really. And I do feel that.
Mm.
And when I see content that is clearly been produced with AI without that much thought, I do have like a revulsion with that. I think that people should kind of be slammed for that. We
Yeah.
we want to we want to make sure that we're still thinking, and still trying to connect the dots and do what humans do, and also just write to humans. Like we should be putting quality content out there. You want to be delivering value. You're not just trying to throw words out there. Like it's not as if, as I was saying before, you've got to do you've got to be on every single platform or have your marketing content everywhere, meaning that you would use AI to do that because it would be too much work to do it otherwise. It's like I'd rather just write one piece of content and write it well than write 10 shitty ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like you're right. There's going to be a sort of premium on genuine creativity and high quality
Original
work
content.
because
Mm.
people just don't want to consume AI written content that sucks. Just make good content. That's it. Make
Yeah.
something that people are actually going to find value in. If we're able to continue doing that, we'll be fine. But unfortunately, people always pick what is convenient. And inconvenient in the short term for them, yeah. But in the long run, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yes, I think beware is the message there, people. If everything you put out is written by ChatGPT, some people will be repulsed.
Yeah, for sure, for
You just
sure.
gotta know that. But it's also really great in listening to you on how it can help you to do more jobs. It can support you to
Hmm.
help more people, and then it can also help us to, once we've got that really great original copy that's creative and original voice, then
Yeah.
we can use that to help us to create different variations of it. I like that.
Yeah, that's the best use case so far. I think that's a great way to do it. If you start with high quality content, then you can get a pretty good result. One great way to create blogs, for instance, is talk to a business owner in a call like what we're doing now, record and transcribe it, and use that transcript to then create the blog post in AI and capture that person's voice and say the things that they were saying using the full sentences, and if not the phrases, if not the words that they were using, and you'll be on track to a much more high quality blog post than if you were to just say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a blog on this. So start with high quality stuff and you can end with pretty high quality stuff if you put the time in it, if you know what to look for. Yeah.
That's another tip I didn't realize. I've not been doing that either, Nick. I'm going to take this and turn it into a blog post and send it back to you for
Yeah, for
to see
sure.
what it comes up with. So thank you very much. That's another great idea of just, yeah, just we don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. This is great content.
Yeah,
Let's use it in many ways.
for
So Nick,
sure.
you've shared lots of things today around marketing, positioning, keeping it simple,
Mm,
having a roadmap, having a target, testing it, the use of AI, your journey.
yeah.
And you also shared a bit at the start around, your journey from writer to businessman. See yourself as a businessman. Um, what is your biggest learning? What would you tell yourself now when you were starting business? What would
I
you
actually think I already kind of touched on that. It's basically like there's no right way to do it. Try it your way, and if it works, that's great. And then if it doesn't, try something else. That's something I wish I knew a little earlier, and I think a lot of clients, I see that in them as well. They think they've got to do it a certain way. It's like, no, there are actually no rules here. You can do it however you want. And if it works, that's awesome because you've done it your way and it's worked. That feels good. I think that's a big one. And another big one is remember people's names. Like that has been so critical. Honestly, like to just in life and in business and everywhere. If you can do that, you'll get so much further. Just that one little thing. Yeah.
That's human to human.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to wrap up then, like if you get anything you'd like to just say to the audience around copy messaging, have you got a one-liner that you'd like to close with? Are you happy with the
Um,
lesson?
I really just think put the time in to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the time in to do it right. It's that extra work up front will get you so much more returns for every marketing dollar that you spend down the track. Yeah, it's not best approached with brute force. I think that a bit of thinking, a bit of creativity, a bit of planning is certainly the way to go. Yeah.
Mhm. And I think just on the end of that, it was like something I learned years ago as well, was that the poor man always pays twice.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you're going to go out there and you're going to do a half-baked job or a little bit of this and a little bit of that and keep reviewing and reviewing, you're going to have to do it every year.
Yep.
It
That's
still won't be
exactly right.
working and it still won't be right. So just take the time, take a breath, and invest in the messaging and,
Yep.
and communicating who you are.
And to be honest, all that work that you do, it might not be right. Marketing is testing after all. You've got to see how people actually interact with it when it goes live. But there's a good, you're taking an educated guess, right?
Yeah.
Not an uneducated guess. Yeah,
Mm.
you're putting your best foot forward.
So Nick, you've got your roadmap mapped out there? It's really
Yeah.
nice. You told us at the start how we can contact you. So can I just put your link to your web address below
Yeah,
here?
website
Back
would be
pages?
great. Yeah, Nick Petrou copywriter.com. That's it.
Easy, simple,
Yeah.
uncomplicated. So, Nick, thank you very much for sharing your time today. It's been absolutely fabulous. I've learned a few things myself. I'm sure people are going to get lots out of this, especially getting to know you and remembering your name.
Yeah.
Nick, have a great day. Thanks very much for sharing your time.
Thanks for having me, Lorraine. Peace.
See ya. See ya.